guys. Welcome back to another episode of Resilience by Faith podcast. I am your host, Reese, and today we have a phenomenal guest. All of my guests are phenomenal, but she is definitely one for the books. Her name is Raven Rae, and she is a mental health advocate, which you know I love because of all the things I do with mental health too. And then she is a CEO, she is a speaker, she is an artist. She sings, guys, and she has an EP. And she loves butterflies, I'm guessing because your EP name is Butterfly. And they call me the social butterfly of the family. So I think we're going to have a good time today. Please make Raven Rae feel welcome. And hey, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, I'm happy to have you. My goodness, you are an inspiration. All the things that you have done and accomplished in life, gosh, like I don't even know where to start. I guess I'll start with the candles and your line that you have out. Let the audience know what your line is called and how you kind of got into that. But before we do that, I always get ahead of myself. She is from Cleveland, Ohio, guys. And I was like, wow, this is my first time getting a chance to interview somebody from Ohio. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be the first.
Yes, the first.
Yes. But I got into my business. It's called Blackleaf Naturals, and it's my natural vegan brand where I make candles, as you said. I make body butters, body oils, hair oils, different things to nourish the body on the outside. And the whole premise for the brand kind of came about. Actually goes back to my music. So it's interesting that you started there. But it goes back to a song that I have called Self-Care. And in the song, it's where I personify self-care. And I'm kind of just talking to myself saying, you need me. You need to take care of me. You only get one life. So the whole business was kind of born from that song, just saying like, okay, you need to take care of the inner, but the outer needs, self-care as well. But the business's tagline is self-care is deeper than the skin. It starts in the mind and the heart. So it was just a way for me to kind of blend those two worlds. And when I do in-person events, I kind of find a way to blend my music with the products and make them interactive and things like that through QR codes. So I just love it, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to kind of put goodness into whatever I'm doing.
Right. Yes, I love the fact that, first of all, you integrated the two, but then, like you said, that self-care is more than just the skin. And nowadays, I feel like social media has made us believe that self-care is bubble baths and going to the spa and facials and all these things. And I feel like self-care can be that too, but it could just be as simple as spending time with yourself, maybe doing a facial mask while you're reading a book or doing something that you enjoy or listening to a song that's soothing. And do you know who Sarah Jakes is?
Yeah, I've heard of her. Yes.
Yes, TD Jake's daughter. I think she said something that hit me the other day when she was on Instagram and she was filming her like making a cup of tea. And she was just like, now that I'm getting older, I'm in my 30s, I'm very intentional about spending time with myself. I think just the recent Sunday, she had told the congregation that she had a cancer scare. And now then shortly after, she put out that reel on Instagram where she was just like, I'm very intentional about spending time with myself. And it made me think. And I was just like, but you are you. So you spend time with yourself all the time. But then I thought about it and I looked at the reel again and I was just like, but no, I think what she's talking about may be deeper than that. And yeah, like it definitely hit.
Yeah. That's interesting too, because like you said, you would think, I don't know, I personally, I talk to myself a little differently. My self-talk is differently. So even in my book, I kind of I tried to write it in a way that didn't confuse people because I see these different sides of myself, and
Uh-huh.
I kind of personify each emotion in a way. So I might see I might have like a, I call it Raven, and then I call it Raven Rae, and then those are two totally different people, and then there's Ray.
Yeah.
So I feel like we all have those you know, I don't know what you would even call it, but like those identities within ourselves.
Right.
But for her to say like, you don't really, she needs to spend time with herself more. That's like really interesting because you might get wrapped up in like the career you or
Yes.
the mom you or the whatever you, and you're not really
Uh,
spending time with the you, like the person that
yeah.
only you know in your
Right.
heart. And that's a totally different person than who other people might experience. So that's interesting.
Yes, it is. And I think on this growth journey that I'm on, I just keep like every little dimension just surprises me more and more. But to say that you have to spend time with yourself and prioritizing that time, I think it takes a certain level of growth,
Yeah.
for sure. Just to be able to say, no, I'm not calling this person right now, or no, I'm not going to travel here and, use my time because that's an expense.
Right.
I'm going to spend it with myself. I'm going to
Mhm.
take a walk, or I'm going to, make me a cup of tea or coffee and just sit in silence. And I think I started to exercise that a little bit. And I noticed that I'm way more calmer and way more, I feel like, in sync with myself when I make time for myself. Whereas before I wasn't, I was just going with the flow, the ebb and flow of life, and not really, like investing in
Yeah.
myself in
Yeah,
that way. Yeah.
totally. And it's
Yes.
important. Like you have to do it. You have to, because at the end of the day, I feel like, we have our family, we have our friends, we have people who support us, but if we don't take that time for ourselves, then it's like pouring from an empty cup. And I'll get into that later, but it's just
Yeah.
like pouring from an empty cup, and that's never good.
No, definitely not. And I do want you to comment some more on your book, because I do feel like my audience can very well, much so, like, get what they need from your book, but also I can too. So we want to know all the deets.
Yes. Well, I would be so happy to dive in there. Oh, where do I start? It tells my story. It's not a memoir, but
Uh,
it includes my story. So I don't tell it in chronological order, but I do start at the beginning of my butterfly journey. So I
oh,
start in the egg, which is where, the butterfly's life cycle starts. And I compare my journey to that of a butterfly because of the things that I've gone through in life.
right.
Where I started, I was born sick. I was born a premature baby. I had to be put into an incubator and have 2 blood transfusions when I was born. And then I was raised by the best mother ever for the next 5 years of my life. And then I lost her to cancer. So at a very young age, I had to learn how to grow up and kind of like understand who I was and where I fit into the world, even at 5, just to say, like, I started life in this one community, going to this one school, having all these friends, and then you get uprooted and you have to move to a totally different neighborhood on the other side of town where things are completely different. It was literally, I would say, we went from the suburbs to the hood. That's what happened. So, when you aren't privy to that, it was kind of like, whoa, what is happening? What is happening? So you have
Yes.
to, like, you just have to learn how to fit in all over again, learn how to make friends with new people, got bullied a little bit, like, you're an Oreo, like that whole thing. And it was very interesting to kind of just like go from, like I said, one place to another and just have to figure out your identity that young. And then I
Right.
got diagnosed with several medical illnesses quickly after that. And one of them was ulcerative colitis. And I was told that I would have to take like all of these pills just for my organs to function properly. And thankfully, that's not the case today. But from 9 years old until 17, that was my life. And I just had to kind of learn how to adapt to that. And also had a very life-changing surgery for my scoliosis. So it was just kind of like one thing after another. And then I kind of just spiraled into this depression as a teenager. And I didn't get the help that I needed until I went to therapy at 19. And then that completely changed my life. And that's where I started kind of growing within myself and learning myself as a young woman. And after that point, I put out my first album after I started healing a little bit. So that's kind of where my professional music journey began for putting things out into the world. And then ever since then, I've just tried to, everything that I do, just tell my story. And then that's how we kind of get to the book a little bit later, is that I took the story from my music and I put it into the book. So it tells the stories behind the music and my story as well. So it's just really powerful to I think be able to process something like that and put it out into the world so that it can help others as well. So that's kind of just been the biggest blessing for me.
Yes, and I definitely, first of all, I commend you. You seeing Crohn's is definitely something to go through, but then mentally to have to go through that by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure there was people around, but in the
Yeah.
moment, like when you're going through all of it, you just feel so alone. And I've never been diagnosed with anything other than asthma, and I was a preemie
Mm-hmm.
baby too. But like it's just hard. Like I've shared my story on the podcast before. Like my mother is alive, my father is alive. They're not together.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother was the one that actually raised me and my brother as a single parent. But it's like sometimes when you have somebody there, even though you know like they're physically there,
Yeah.
you know, the thought of being a burden to other people and
Mm-hmm.
wanting to talk about it, like, you know, that other people know what you're going through and that they can try to understand, but without you actually opening that vault and letting them know exactly how you feel, you just rather
Yeah.
not say nothing and try to deal with it on your own, and then you feel so alone. So I just want to commend you, definitely, because overcoming depression and being diagnosed with something that hard, and no, you at that age you don't know like what they're talking about or anything about these medications. You just know you got to take them to not be in pain or to like just make it.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that that's not your life today, and
Mm-hmm.
I thank you for sharing that with us, because that it's just a powerful story, and I hope you continue to tell your story, because you never know who needs to hear it. And that's basically what this podcast is about sharing people's stories from all over the world, to hopefully one day somebody's just scrolling through Apple or whatever platform and they find this podcast and listen to something and they feel inspired, or they feel motivated to make it through another day, because mental health is real, no matter what people say, the stigmas and everything out here. But I'm just happy. I'm happy you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. Me too. It's definitely been a rainbow after my storm, I'll say, in ways that I never could have expected. I'm married now and I'm in a peaceful place. Thank you. I'm in a very peaceful mind set and just like very happy about life right now, and where things are going. And as humans, we still have those seasons of life where that I'll say that's the thing about depression, is when you are clinically depressed, it never truly goes away. It
Right.
it may lie dormant, but it never truly goes away. So it's still something that you have to deal with, and you have to keep up with therapy, and you have to talk about your emotions so that they don't overwhelm you, and you still have to cope. So that's very important. A very important piece for me is just, doing that. But I'm just happy about life right now in ways that I never thought I would be. So I'm very grateful.
Yes, and I was just listening to a sermon from TD Jakes where he talked about like you're getting ready to step into a season of your life that you never even could fathom. Like you never thought the possibilities are endless and you never thought this would be your life, but you had to go through the hard seasons and the toughness to be able to appreciate what you're about to walk into. And I think sometimes when you're going through it, sometimes the darkness just takes over and you're just like, I really don't see a way out of this. I don't know. I think he said, what was the line? Don't let stress make you forget who you are and what you're capable of. And I think what he used, one of the stories he used was Peter walking on water to Jesus when he said, come. But what I didn't know is that Peter could swim. So when he took his eyes off Jesus, like he started to sink and he was yelling for him to come and get him. But the whole time I didn't know, and I don't know why I didn't think a fisherman couldn't swim, but he could swim. And they were like, he must have been under so much stress that he forgot he could swim. And he was like, don't let circumstances make you forget who you are and what you're capable of. And I think we can apply that to your story too. So yes, wonderful. Yes. Where can we like find your book? Is it on Amazon or do you have like a website? Because I know some people don't post on Amazon. Some people sell through their website. So I'm like, which one? Or both?
It's on Amazon right now. So if you type butterfly language into the search bar, you'll find my book there.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to make sure we support that, guys. Again, that's Butterfly Language on Amazon, where you can find her book, read her story, and be able to just dive in. Maybe you're in a butterfly season right now. And I know that the last year that we went through in 2023 was tough. It was tough. And so maybe now you're finally branching out of this cocoon and maybe you're like, listen, it's nice to hear advice from somebody who has been where I am currently. And so I think that we all should support her book, Butterfly Language, again on Amazon, and kind of dive into her story and read about the advice and the things that she's been through, because she's already an inspiration. But just being able to read it on paper, I don't know if you guys are like me. Some people do the Kindle thing. I'm more of a paper Philly type of thing.
Yes.
So I like to get into it, highlight, underline, write in it. So embrace her story, guys, and support that. Do you have a podcast?
I don't have one. I don't have one, no.
Oh, I think maybe we may be going.
I was thinking about it. I'm trying to focus. Let me say that. But I'm interested. It's intriguing me a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, well, we'll put that on the back burner, but not erase it. So we'll keep going with that for sure. Now, tell us about the EP, because I know you mentioned it a couple of times. Where can we find that? And like, I guess, what is your favorite song off your EP? Because I know you have a couple, but what's your favorite one right now?
Well, let's see. So I have 3 albums out. The first is a mental health awareness album. The second one is Metamorphosis, where the book kind of stems from, and then the third is Believe in Love. So I would probably say my favorite song right now. I really like from the second album. It's called Euphoria. And that song talks about how you should be high naturally. So
Yes. So
nothing influencing you, just from inward outward, just be inspired yourself and be high naturally. And um I love that song. It kind of, as soon as I hear it, I don't know, it sounds like orange juice. How orange juice feels when you drink it. If you like, when you wake up in the morning and it's like, I don't know how to explain it, but the song is like
Mhm.
orange to me. It's like yellow, sunny, like it's happy. It's orange
Yeah.
juice. It's, I don't know, it's breakfast time. I don't know. It's just a happy
Yes.
song.
Like I kind of get what you're saying. Like I don't know if
Yeah.
you saw the Barbie movie, but kind of like when everybody was waking up and it was she had her own little routine, but she was
Mhm.
like, "Hi Barbie, hey Barbie, hey
Yeah.
Barbie." Like yeah, it's just
Yeah.
a happy feeling.
Hmm.
Yes. Okay. Well, then I'm gonna have to check that out. I definitely know that people looked at me when I was in crazy. I have a story in college. In my undergrad, I think
Hmm.
it was a part where I had to get up and present in front of the class. And at the end, I gave them my Instagram handle. And at the time, it was strung out. And that's all I said. I didn't even finish it. And they were like, and I was like, on life, strung out on life. So I can kind of relate to that feeling because it's like, no, we're not using drugs. We're just happy to be here. We're happy to be alive. We're happy to be amongst the living. We're happy to be breathing. We're happy that we can do things in our own strength and we have mental capacity and physical capacity
Yes.
to do things and just think for ourselves. We're not sick laying up in a hospital bed. So we have no reason to not be euphoric and not be
Yeah.
happy about being here. We have nothing to be down about, even though sometimes it's hard to feel that way. But just to have gratitude for still being here and being happy of what you can do and what you do have, I think is so
Mhm.
important. So
Yes.
important.
So
Yes.
important.
Yes, I think sometimes we just take life for granted. I don't know. It's hard not to. I think I don't know if it's social media or if it's like YouTube. I don't know
Mm.
what it is, but we just get caught up in like the ins and the outs of life. Just keep going like we're a robot.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are definitely out of touch. And I think
Right.
when you get wrapped up in the internet and,
Yeah.
they make it addicting on purpose to just sit there and scroll all day, and it's on purpose. So it's like when you have these generations of people just like sitting on their phone all day, they're not going outside, they're not connecting with nature, they're not touching any grass, they're not meditating. And I think that's something as a society where it's like it could seriously benefit us, to do and have in our everyday lives, is to just like meditate and, like we talked about at the very beginning, sit with yourself and self-care. Like, but we're on our phones, all day.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just like I think that's what it is we're just not tapped in anymore.
Right, right. And definitely people are still making comments like, well, we'll be glad when things get back to normal. And I'm just like, I think that has passed. I
Mhm.
think your normal or what you're referring to is something of the past, and we have to create a new normal. And
Yeah.
I think that I don't know, just my 2 cents, I feel like we're not doing a good job
Mhm.
as a society of creating our new normal. I think the new normal right now is it's not inspiring. It's very much so like scrolling on our phones and wishing that we had something somebody else has or we were somewhere else that somebody else is and not
Yeah.
really tapped in. Like we're looking at everything else but what we do have and where we are, where we're not. It's just
Yeah.
not. Yeah.
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 I think we're motivated by a lot of the wrong things, if you will, because it's not that we weren't meant to live life abundantly and,
Right.
be wealthy or to have these experiences. It's just
Right.
that that shouldn't be the only goal that we have in our lives. And I think it's
Right.
been made to kind of go that way, like, from an early age. Now it's getting like younger and younger where you have to start focusing on your retirement and you haven't even
Right.
started your career yet, like 18-year-olds
Right.
having to like I mean, you should know what a 401k is and saving for your
Right.
retirement, but like at 18 having to like make these serious decisions when you don't even know anything about life yet, it's kind of still it blows my mind all the time that we just push them out into the world
Right.
and just say, all right, go, whatever. And some people do
Yeah.
well with that, but a lot of people don't. And it's just like, I don't know. I feel like it starts there, it starts at home. The generations are different now. Like, you got babies raising babies and they haven't even fully lived yet. And it's very interesting. Very interesting.
It is. It's very interesting in the world of TikTok. Definitely, if they say it on TikTok, it's gold. Like they know what they're talking about. It has to be true because it was on TikTok. I think society has lost its mind. And I keep thinking that maybe one day, like I'll just move out the United States. Maybe it's the United States. Maybe that's the problem. And I'll just go live somewhere else in the world and be happy. And I just feel like every corner of the earth has its own problems. And so I'm just like, I just have to find peace where I'm at. And so I guess with that, what made you what was the point? Because this is usually where I'm wrapping up, but I noticed I didn't ask, what was the point in your life where things were just happening and you were like, I have to heal. This can't go on for too much more. This has to change.
Yeah, I think it was like right before I started therapy. I was kind of in this space of like, there was like you said, there was so much going on, and it was like, medically things weren't well, mentally things weren't well, and I was kind of just like, I also believe I was 19 at the time, so I was kind of just trying to figure out like, what do I want to do with my life? Kind of back to what I just said, like, what do I want to do? Like, I knew I wanted to, sing and I wanted to perform, but there's so many micro lanes within that. So I was kind of just like, well, do I want to go musical theater or do I want to go recording and do my albums and songwriting things? So I didn't know which direction to take, what to be completely serious about. And I think the turning point was like, it didn't feel like anything was like happening for me or that was positive, and I was kind of just like, I just still don't want to be here. Like, I still don't see the point of being on the earth. I don't get it. I don't see the point. And I had like this massive kind of like argument with my grandmother who raised me, and she kind of just like told me and was just like, you know what, you need to get help or you're going to keep spiraling and this is going to get worse and worse and worse, and it's not going to end well. So she kind of just gave me an ultimatum, and she was like, you can either go to therapy or, I don't know what to tell you. And it was just blunt like that. And I went to therapy. I started that journey, and I started to also heal myself holistically. So I went vegan, and that was kind of when I was like really I was like done with the pills. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I made that decision. I was like, I'm not taking these anymore. So I had to kind of figure out how to keep going after that. So it was just holistic, this whole holistic approach of like therapy, talking, eating properly, watching what I was consuming visually as well, like on TV, like just kind of watching everything. So yeah, that's how that happened.
Yes. Is there ever like any podcast you might listen to or any thing that inspired you to keep going? Because I know when you're on your healing journey, you can take 10 steps forward and get knocked back 12. And so you got to keep being inspired and keep having the motivation to keep wanting to see change, because things change day to day. So what kept you going? And if anything, like, was it a YouTube channel? Was it a podcast or anything that would help you get back on track when you got off the horse?
Yeah, I think at first, before I even started meditating, because I started therapy first, so I didn't really get into meditation until the pandemic, really.
Uh-huh.
But around that time, I found on YouTube, I found Tony Robbins and I found Lisa Nichols, and I found a few other motivational speakers that I would actually
Mhm.
listen to as I was building my business. So I would be
Awesome.
in my grandmother's basement where she allowed me to just kind of take over that space completely. And I would just be down there literally sweeping everything out, creating this space for myself, putting up my shelves and starting to develop my products. And I would have to just listen to the words that they were saying, and just get my inspiration from that. And their words helped a ton, just to kind of hear her story as well. But I kind of just always kept something positive playing in my ear as I was going on that journey. And then I eventually had like a spiritual awakening during the pandemic as well that was very powerful. So that led to other listening to other positive things. So just always had something positive in my ear.
Yes, I think that really does help in a world full of negativity, but then sometimes we can be our worst enemy. And sometimes it can be our own thoughts and or it could be the enemy creeping in. So you never know. But somehow, some way we get on a negative loophole and it's very hard to break that. Um, I thank you for sharing that because something positive always playing in your ear is definitely important.
Yes,
Definitely.
yes.
Yes. Well, Raven, I definitely want to thank you for coming on the podcast. I could talk to you all day, but
Really,
I know you
I
have
feel the same
things to
way.
do. Yes. I definitely say, where can my audience find you on the internet? And how else can we support you? Because I know we talked about the book earlier, but what else would you like our audience to kind of tap into?
Yeah. So once again, thanks so much for having me. And if anybody wants to connect, you can find me on Instagram at Raven Rae Official. I'm on Facebook at Raven Rae, and then I'm on YouTube as Raven Rae Sings.
Okay, definitely. I was wondering where you was going to let us hear your voice somewhere. I know that you talked about the albums, but I was like, where else can we hear you? Because I know right before we get off, Summer Walker did this whole thing where she would take her guitar. She just took it back to just her, the guitar, the room, and maybe a background singer or two, and she would perform songs. And she wouldn't dress up or anything. You would just see her in her element. And I was like, I was gonna ask you, do you have anywhere where you kind of perform? But YouTube, okay,
Yeah,
YouTube.
I'm on YouTube, and then I do a lot of live shows in the summer. And then you can also find my music anywhere you listen to music. So on any streaming platforms at Raven Rae.
Raven Rae. Okay. And definitely, if you guys are driving or at work and listening to this, everything will be linked down in the show notes below. Raven Rae, thank you so much for coming on again. And you guys, thank you so much for tuning into another episode because this podcast wouldn't be what it is without you. Definitely, we'll connect again in about 2 more weeks with another episode. But until then, stay safe out there, stay warm because it's cold outside, and definitely protect yourself and protect your mental. And like Raven Rae gave us today, have something positive playing in the background. I really do think that is very important. That was one of my takeaways from today.
Yeah.
But thank you guys. Until next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.